Hello and welcome back. I'm bballjo, and this game was released on June 20th. Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. The game is super complex, and for everyone that has never played this game before and just picked it up and thought, hey, I've done the tutorial, I've done the campaign, I know everything about this game, I can start playing now, they start playing a custom game and they just jump from failure to failure to failure to New Republic to New Save to New Republic to New Save. And it can get really frustrating really fast. And that's what this is about. This is a fix for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Someone submitted this to me. I'm not going to say the name, but you can do the same thing. Just send me a save if you have problems, if you have things that I can maybe teach everyone else about. Let me know. Just send it to me. A link is in the description. Just come to my Discord and you can figure it out. But this republic is in 1963, 112 citizens, and pretty much every problem that you may run into has happened in this one, and I will show you how to fix it, address it, and prevent it next time from happening. To be fair, this is it. This is the Republic. That's no judgment, it's just this is it. This is all we have to worry about. There's nothing else on the map that is happening. So that is good because we can actually isolate our problems. First, let's take stock of what's going on. We are paused. About 300,000 ruble in the bank, about 700,000 NATO dollars in the bank. It's 1963, so 3 years already going. Unemployment is okay, just some of a child and some of low education. Okay, that's fine. Health is terrible, 68%, that's bad. How much should it be? At least 80% or higher. Anything below that means that your average lifespan is too low, and that is bad. The game doesn't tell you this, I'm telling you this, and it's a little annoying, but we will figure out why this is going on. And happiness at 9%, I think that's pretty obvious. That's bad. What do you need happiness to be at? Just high enough that nobody wants to escape. What is that number? I've seen people not escape once happiness was above 50%. 80% is better. 70% is not as good as 80, but at least above 50%. You usually should be able to get it in the 60s and 70s relatively easy, so that's what you should aim for, and we can fix this because this is very related to everything that's going on. What else do we have? Well, we have just a normal city setup with a bunch of large buildings. Okay, normal city setup, bunch of large buildings. This is the first clue for people that have played this before, and maybe something that people that haven't played it before underestimate. This is a planned economy game. Planned on every aspect of the economy because there's nothing on the map, and that is great. But when you want to build a city, the first thing that has to be clear in your mind is how many citizens do I want to house here eventually? Not tomorrow, but eventually, maybe 5-6 years from right now. And if the answer is not a lot, you should not jump to large buildings. That's very important, and we have a lot of large buildings here, and there's a problem with them. Everything is right here on this, call it northern part of town, or southern part, depending how the map is turned, but it's on this northern part of town, and there's no room up here to expand, really, with your citizens, with residential or anything else. So the city's not going to grow this way. The city is right here, and we are already, if we click on a building, we can have this little icon. We're already at 240 meters of walking distance. Once you get past 300 meters, it's probably a little too far, so you don't have to worry about that anymore, which really just means we are close to maxed out in walking range on this side of town and on this side of town. We can probably add a couple more buildings, but not a ton without tearing down everything that goes on here, which I'm just trying to say, this town is almost maxed out in terms of space. And we have 112 people living here. But for those 112 people, we have all the large buildings. We have a large shopping center. We have a large prison. We have a large police station. We have a small courthouse. We have a small headquarters of the university. We have another university, technical university. We have a medium-sized school. We have a large hospital. We have the large heating plant. We have a medium-sized kindergarten, so that's good. It's just a lot of large buildings, okay? What's the problem with large buildings? Oh, I will tell you. Let's look at it. We are in realistic mode, and I very much appreciate that this player tried that. But let's look at it. The large shopping center, which is this guy right here, what do you cost? You cost about 3,000 workdays and 87 tons of steel and 437 tons of concrete. Is that a lot? Well, if you really want to do the math, you can go click on economy and trade, look at the current prices on the global market, find steel, it's somewhere in here. I don't think we have search yet, but that's fine. Make sure that everything is just sorted by this. And steel currently is $300 per ton. So times 90 is barely, what is that, 270,000? 270,000, is that right? No. It's 27,000, yes. 27,000 just in steel for this building, and then we need to add all the other stuff as well, which may not sound like a lot, but you have alternatives. The alternative is going to a smaller shopping center, and a smaller shopping center compares to this one, 3,000, almost 3,200 workdays. This one only takes barely 600 workdays, 12 tons of steel, 67 tons of concrete. I'm not saying that it's super cheap, but it's about a sixth of that price, 1/6, which is a huge impact. If you look at, you only have about 1.3 million to start in realistic mode on the very hardest money settings. So yeah, that makes a difference. And you can do this for the whole row. For the prison, build a smaller one. For the police station, build the smaller one to begin with. Hospital, build the smaller one for some cities. University-wise, you probably just want to build one until you have enough citizens, and then you can build the other one. But don't waste money on stuff that you can't use right away, okay? And that's true for all of these. Something that this player has done excellently is actually manage the number of workers in all of these buildings. Set it to, well, this is about a third. Okay, what does a third even mean? As a new player, you won't know this. You have no idea what this shopping center can actually service. And there's no good information out there written down, or otherwise there's just a bunch of comments that you can find somewhere in the forums that will tell you some numbers. I will tell you this. The large shopping center, on average productivity, asterisks, remember this for later, on average productivity can handle about 7,500 people, citizens in the city. And that's it. There's an asterisk here, because if you're really good and keep everyone super happy and have the productivity above 100%, you can actually handle 12,000 people easily with this thing. I've heard that on the Discord and a bunch of other places. Totally possible, but that is a number that says everything is perfectly fine. There's no traffic jam. There's nothing ever going to be shortcut. You always have everything available, which doesn't happen for new players. Doesn't happen for experienced players either. It's just not a thing that's very common. So I won't say 12,000 people. I will tell you 7,500, because that is a very safe number that you can definitely play with, where your productivity can probably sit between 70 and 80% and you will be fine. What's productivity, bballjo? Well, glad you asked, because here is the best tool in the game to diagnose absolutely almost everything, especially around your citizens, the citizen itself. You see these icons? You can hover over them and they will tell you some info. And if you can't read that, click on any of them. When you click on them, they will tell you a bunch of stuff. One of them is happiness down here, 10%. Average productivity, 30% for this person. Guess what? That's bad. But that is totally related to your happiness. And then you have all the other stats in here too. And then you have question marks here behind the loyalty symbol. And it tells you secret police needed to visit citizens' home to display their government loyalty level. Okay, so you don't need the loyalty. You can cheat up here and it will tell you 56% loyalty, which is pretty good for right now. But a lot of info is here. It will even tell you what it's currently doing. It's currently on a working shift. 8 hours is a working shift. That means in a 24-hour day, there are 3 shifts. So for every job, you need 3 people. Yeah, this window tells you that. Then it will tell you what you're currently going over for, what are your demands, what has been satisfied, what's not, what's your education level, how many electronics do you have, where do you live, where are you currently working at, and you can click these buttons to get to all those places. And that is wonderful. So make sure that you look at these things. But that's your average productivity of this worker. You can also see the whole population average productivity, which is down here, because we are super unhappy that productivity is in the cellar, because it's not great. And you have a bunch of other stats over here. It's just this population statistics window, and you can look at this stat, and you can move things around just however you need to, which is honestly wonderful, because it tells you a lot of things about your republic right now. And we're going to analyze this a little bit more later on. But I was saying, this player has already reduced the number of workers, but that player has no idea what the max number of workers should be. So 7,500 people at 45 workers of 70% productivity means we're now at 30%. So that should be half of that. 3,700 people is maybe the max that they can handle. But it's probably also not a good number, because you set this to a number, but you only have 2 people working here. So what do all these numbers mean? Honestly, this is why nobody wants to write it down anywhere on the internet. The numbers don't mean anything because your republic will have something special going on. In this case, this number up here, 112 citizens, is not enough. That is not enough to run a city because I just told you, you need 3 workers per job. This shopping center has 15 jobs. That is 45 workers that you need to solve this. That is half your population in the shopping center. That's 1 building. Looking at the next one, this one currently has set to 10. That is 30 workers. So now we're at 75 workers already out of 112. This one is set to 5 and 3, so that's 8. That's another 24 workers. We're now at 100 workers already with these 3 buildings. You see where I'm going with this? This one adds a number 24 times 3. That's another 75 workers to run this one. This one, that's another 24 on top of that. This one adds a number 30 on top of that. Times 3, that's 90. And then this one adds another, looks like 20, so 60 workers on top of that. This one adds another 18. You don't have enough workers to solve this. And you have too many large buildings that cost you a lot of money. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that this city can actually survive. What do we need for this city to survive? Okay, let's see. There are excellent help notifications, messages in the game that you can use that you just have to understand. I'm even seeing that there's a fire station out here with 1 worker out there. That's another 46 that want to go here. Do not, if you have a choice, do never reduce the firefighter station. Because it doesn't matter how many vehicles you have driving to a fire, it is the number of firefighters in the station that fight the fire, not the number of vehicles that you send out there. So this should be the last place that you reduce your workers from, because if there's a fire, this is not going to put anything out unless it's on a little substation, and that's not going to happen that often. So no, do not do this. Make sure that your fire station is actually maxed out. 46 may be too much and you may have a problem, but I would say 35, 30, don't go much lower than that. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. You don't want to do that. Anyways, that's a fire station. So let's diagnose what's wrong in the city, because there are a couple. And the first thing we want to do is actually figure out where our citizens are. Well, they're not here, 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 they're here. Okay, they're 46. Let's look what their problems are so we can figure out what we need to do, if anything. Can't work because kindergartens are full. Okay, culture. Okay, food, meat, electronics. Church, pub, tavern, sports, and hospital. Anything new over here? Clothes. Clothes wasn't a problem over there. Okay, culture, meat, food. Yeah, generally, you have all these large buildings, but not enough citizens to staff them, to even run them. And we talked over all the numbers that we have. What should be the minimum number to get started in a city? Wonderful question. I'm glad you asked. I know that there are some players out there, experienced players, that can handle 200 workers in a city, which is just about double this. Workers, not citizens. You see the difference here? There's 98 workers and 112 citizens because they have children that don't count as workers. If you count them together, it's 98 workers plus 14 children. There you go. So 200 workers, they can handle this. I would say a new person should probably aim more between 400 and 600. I would always aim for the higher end if you want to manage your population or your worker numbers, which is already happening here, but we're going to tweak them a little bit more. But that is the first thing we need. We need more workers because these have all the buildings available. In walking range even, you can hover over this and you can see that they can walk to every single building that's in town. And right now, all the buildings are there. And that's something the game at least teaches you what you need when you need it. So that's good. Let's figure out what other problems we may have. One big one, because we have health being really low, is figuring out what things can hurt health. The biggest one is pollution, by far. Pollution can come from 2 very common sources, 3 really if you have everything turned on. And right now in this game, everything is on besides the vehicles. So it's the hardest way possible to play, which is wonderful. Where can we get pollution from? From smokestacks. There's a smokestack out here. It's putting out pollution. Okay. Should it be a lot? No, we're only sitting at 25%. It is a large heating plant. Heating is a whole other topic that we probably can get into, but the large heating plant is enough to handle about 10,000 or so citizens of a city. The city is not going to grow that big. We already talked about that. Everything is too big. But it's okay if you want to run this here, as long as you just run at low productivity. You don't have to worry about the pollution a lot. But if this ever runs at 100%, this whole city will just die because pollution will just take over. Right now, the pollution is probably sitting somewhere in this area and not very heavy, which is okay. But you could have also just started with the small heating plant, this guy. It's a lot smaller, it's a lot cheaper. How much cheaper? 900 workdays versus 1900 workdays, and then 20 tons of steel versus 73 tons of steel. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up really fast. So the small heating plant would have been okay, and you could have even put it a little closer to the city and didn't need the underground heat pipe, which is super duper expensive. Oh my god, that thing is so expensive to build. So much steel, so much time, and you didn't have to build this heat exchanger. If that doesn't really make sense, I really, really recommend you watch the first 2-3 episodes of my Season X, because I did exactly this, everything that I'm talking about right here, with the small heating plant to get everything going. And it's fine, because a small heating plant can handle about 2,500 people. And that's really all you need. At 100%, you need to be make sure that you're far enough away. How far should you be away for pollution to not matter? I'm glad you ask. There's a small formula, but I tell you the numbers. I don't know what the formula is, honestly. But this guy, 26.5 tons per year, should be about 1 kilometer away from your closest residential building. How do you figure out how far you are away? I'm glad you ask. Go to Tool for Measurements, then click on either the city or the building that you have. And then we say, okay, our first building is here, 300 meters. It's okay at low production. It's not okay if it runs at 100%. Where should it be? About 1,000. 750 meters is technically good, but some industries will just require a little more and some a little less, and I would just recommend 1,000 meters. Also, 1,000 meters is the length of the heating pipe that you can place, which generally plays along really well. So you don't have to go much further than that, but if you would go much less than 1,000 meters, you would potentially have some pollution issues. But this is how far you want to be away from the city. Well, that's nice. Are there any industries that you have to worry about more? Yeah, there are. Which one is that? The highest polluting one that I'm aware of is the incinerator. It has 71 tons per year. Even the small one is very high. These you want to keep at about 1,500 meters away from your city. Otherwise, pollution will eventually take over if they run at full productivity. All of the pollution depends on the current production rate of that building. Otherwise, you can just kind of ignore it if you only run it at 10%. Or this one's currently only running at 25%, so that's not really a problem. But if you want to place those, just make sure that you have enough room for them so they don't cause trouble. Good. What else do we need? Well, pollution. Okay. I don't think this building is currently a problem. I don't think it's helping, but I don't think it's the big problem that we're running into here. The problem is if you run in realistic mode, you cannot 100% determine that, and you will not understand it right away, because this building is behind research. That research takes a little while to get to, and you need universities to get to that point. So it's a little unfortunate, but I can tell you it's not pollution. What is the problem? Let's go to our overview. Overlays. They have a bunch of buttons up here. They're very, very helpful for figuring out anything about your city. What are we going to do right now? We're going to look at waste, because waste is another polluting factor in your city. And let's look at this. A bunch of numbers. Most of the numbers are green. This number is 136 in yellow. This number is 137 in yellow. And this number is 157 in yellow. These numbers mean that if we click on them, we will probably see overflowing waste containers. These are small waste containers. It doesn't matter. They all produce pollution if they are not picked up. So that one is full. Okay. This one is full with hazardous waste. That produces more pollution. So that's not good. And this one is also full somewhere down here. So all of these are health issues. And the people here just sit at 70% health. That's just not good enough. Okay, there's some waste issues that we can already see right here. Do we have other problems? Well, there is sewage flow. But sewage at this point, I don't expect to be terrible. We have a sewage collector station here that doesn't have much sewage stored at all, which is good. And we have, let's see here, we have this technical service office, I only know that when I click on it, that has a sewage tank and a water tank already here, and they're not currently running. So I'm pretty sure that we're good. We can also hover over the technical service office and it will tell us what buildings it's actually covering. And it's covering these buildings. This is something the game absolutely does not tell you. When you hover over this, the buildings that are green are the ones that it actually reaches, that it cares about. Well, it's supposed to pick up trash, sewage, and bring water. Why are these residential buildings not highlighted? Very simple. These residential buildings are in range of a water substation, which effectively acts as a reservoir that everyone feeds from. So a water truck with 10 tons of water goes there, dumps all its water in there, and every building that is in range that's connected with this blue line will pull the water that it needs out of that reservoir. The substation itself does not have a big reservoir. It's I don't even know, like there's no capacity in this effectively, but everyone pulls everything that they want, just like the power substation works exactly the same way. So the technical service office knows that, which is why those buildings are not highlighted in green. Same thing for sewage. All the sewage goes to the sewage substation, which is why there is a capacity of 12 cubic meters. And when this is full enough, the technical service office will send the truck to take it wherever you told the truck to take it. Well, you do have to make sure that you have this all set up, but at least everything is set to the customs house, so that should work just fine. So sewage and water is not a problem, but we are at the technical service office right now, and look to the left of the screen, right here. There's an error message. You see that? No garbage truck for small containers. Don't ignore error messages. We have a garbage truck here, this waste truck. It is the Skoda 706RT, but it uses a large container. You know what you can do with a large container truck? Pick up large containers, not small ones. Does this container look like this container? No, it doesn't. But the game doesn't tell you that, and it's not your fault. It's just a thing that's just telling you, well, I can't do anything with this because wrong container. So what should you do? You have to get the correct container. And as you can see, we're using these small containers pretty much everywhere. This building has it, those buildings have it, these have it, that one has it. They're all built in if you've never seen them. It's quite nice, but it's not super helpful because there are some buildings, I don't think it was you, I think this one. Yes, this one has a details, right? This one has a full skip container, so that waste truck that we just saw can actually go out here and pick up the waste from this place because that is the correct waste container, but it cannot pick up anything from these small containers, especially the ones out here, so they will just slowly fill up and then nothing's going to happen with them, which is not ideal. So how do we fix that? Well, all we have to do is get the right container truck out here and then life is going to be good. So let's do that really quick before we invite citizens. It's very important that you figure out what's wrong with your city before you get more people in, because you can't afford to lose them right now because we're at 300,000. So let's see. We need to go down to roads and cargo, technical service office, free technical service office. We don't have money to spend right now. Bring this one over here. By default, the game will try to connect your road to, or the road connection to another road with the same tier of road. If you don't like that, hit left control. Left control will effectively hide all of that plus the detail window that you see there. So you can place whatever you want, and then you can go down and place whichever road you would like. In this case, I just want to go fast, so we're just going to put a dirt road here and that will be fine. Cool. Let's get what we know we don't have. What we currently don't have is a garbage truck that can handle features small container loading. You see that? It says it in there. This one says features large container loading. It's really hard to see. It's really hard to know if you don't look at it, but the game has a lot of implied logic. Also a lot of logic that's not implied. Like, who needs a person to drive a vehicle? Or, yeah, my train can flip 360 degrees without a problem just on a dime, or anything like that, right? So there are some things that are just weird, some things that are fine, but all we need to do right now is order one of these. We are next to a border, so that truck should show up in the customs house and drive itself over here, and then start collecting things, which is wonderful. So that should help with trash. How many of those do you need? Honestly, not a lot, especially if you're using container stands like this, because they just act as large collection sites, so a truck can usually go to one or two of these. Which is just 2.16 tons. The truck that we just bought is about 6 tons, so it can probably go to 2 or 3 of these before it fills up, if they are full enough that happens. The logic is a little weird. Sometimes it will go more half empty to the customs house and drop stuff off, but overall, they're supposed to make it logical. You will get to some places like the hospital. The hospital has a special problem with hazardous waste. You want to make sure that a truck can pick up the same type of waste. Hazardous waste is always going to be separated. Doesn't matter how much hazardous waste is in mixed waste. Once there's 1% of hazardous waste, it is considered hazardous waste, no longer mixed waste. So you would like to have this picked up separately. When you can, I always recommend using the stand for big garbage containers, and then whatever size you can. In this case, I'm just going to use one of these. And as you can see, it can actually connect to several different buildings, which is wonderful. Let's just get that one in here, get it built, and make sure that there is the walking range is fine, which it is. So now the shopping center that's over here and the hospital that's over here can dump all their trash into this one substation, which would be nice. Okay, that is fine. Trash pollution should be taken care of now. Is that all we needed? No, because there was one thing that we saw earlier in the overlays when we look at waste, which was this guy is full. Okay, that's a problem. Can we see anything else with that? Well, no, not really. Free flats, productivity, no. That's really all we can see. There was one overlay which I wanted to show you. Over here, utility network connections on the first overlay. You can click on this one, and then everything that is currently covered by a trash collection is highlighted in green, and everything that's not, like this building or this building, is highlighted in white, or not highlighted at all, which is just fix it if you can. It's not going to be the end of the world, but ideally you want to have multiple buildings be connected to garbage collection, so your truck doesn't have to go to every single building all the time. Plus the garbage collections have larger capacities, which means you have less overflow, which also means less pollution. Those are all good things that you want. Cool. This one was not connected to a garbage connection, which is, oh no, it's connected there, was just never picked up in the first place. So yeah, this one is fine. We don't have to do anything else there. But with the truck that we just bought, it should be able to go out to all these places and pick up everything that's left over. So I am pretty confident, assuming that our heating plant is full, assuming that we have food, clothes, and electronics here, that we can just start inviting people. False. We need to reduce the number of workers in non-essential buildings to make sure that we don't lose them. This one, not essential, nobody's even here right now, so let's set that to 2. Police station, you actually don't need this. Another thing the game won't tell you. Actually, there's some news about that, but I don't even know where to find it. The police impact, or crime impact, I should say, is not 100% until you had 10 or 12,000 citizens. That does not mean it doesn't exist. You will still have crime, and if you don't handle crime for 5 years, you will get to a situation where your crime numbers are getting out of control, that you have to handle it regardless of what your population is. Normally, I would say start building a crime and justice line like between 1,500 and 2,500 people. That's a good place to start, and it also means you don't have to invest anything in the beginning, but we already have it, so that is fine. But let's set this to a number that is reasonable, maybe 3 and 6, maybe 2? I think 2 sounds better, not 1. 1 is too little. Because if you have only one person per shift, there's a long time but nobody's at that shift, which you want to avoid. So 2 and 4 should be fine. Vehicles here are a problem because the more vehicles you have, the more crimes you get into the list and the less you get solved. Highly recommend you look at any of the crime and justice fixes that I talked about, because, well, those are an hour long, and that's for a reason. There's a lot of stuff that goes into crime and justice, but I'm just going to take them out of this building, and that should be fine for right now. Over here, courthouse, because crime and justice overall has low numbers, let's just reduce this one too. I just want to make sure that my judges are not a single. Let's do 2, and that should be fine for right now. And please note that court staff is regular people. Judges have this like suit and tie outfit. That means they need higher education, which we don't have. We currently have 6 workers with higher education. We need them for courthouse. We need them for police officers. We need them for doctors. We need them for teachers. We need them for professors, and we need them for professors. As you can see, we need a lot of them. How many do we need? Generally, you want to at least start around 20%. That makes your life a little easier, and then the more you get, the better. Later on, if you had 50%, you're probably more than enough. there's barely ever in need to get up to 100% highly educated people. So you can stay away from that. But let's set these ones up. We don't want to do research right now. We want to make sure that the people that we have can do what we need them to do. We do not need 2 universities. So let's turn them off. I'm just clicking on the numbers here and set them to 0, so nobody should be able to go here, and then turn these down because we just don't have professors right now to do anything with it. School, this is going to be your moneymaker. I will explain what I mean by that, but this is your moneymaker because you have so much NATO money. You can invite uneducated citizens later, and they will become real citizens very fast as long as your school can handle them. So we're going to leave that one alone. Let's look at the other ones really quick. We already did this. We haven't done the indoor pool. This one can really handle a lot of people, so we're just going to set it to 4. The hospital, maybe 5 to get started. The gallery of art, honestly, not a lot of citizens will use that, so we're just going to set that to really low. The cinema, 2 people can handle a lot of visitors, so that should be fine. Kindergarten, this one is very important when you have a lot of workers, so we're going to leave that relatively high. We already set this one to what we wanted. This one is reset. Good. We reset the fire station. That's good too. And then it's just the shopping center in this one. We just don't have a lot of people, but we don't want to go crazy. And everything that you do right now, you want to make sure that you have enough. Whatever that means, you have to look at the progression of the game once we turn it back over to make sure that you have everything that you need. But I feel pretty confident with the settings that we have right now, we should be good. I'm not going into other details like why you should bring fuel to certain emergency services, etc., because that's more detail. But for right now, the city should be okay to go. Okay, if you're confident and if you have power and if you have heat, because it is winter, you can get started. You should check one thing. These numbers may be confusing. I'm clicking on the heat exchanger. There's a total capacity of all connected buildings, an estimated maximum drain, considering if buildings are connected to multiple exchangers. Is there another exchanger here? No, but there's this heating plant, and that heating plant is in heating range of most of the city already. So this one and the heat exchanger are both sharing their load. So the heat exchanger itself is only responsible for about 128 cubic meters out of 200. Let's do simple math. Which should totally be fine for all of this, so you don't have a problem here, and your heating tank is already at 300 cubic meters, which is all you can do as long as you use the correct heating pipe. There's a 300 cubic meter heating pipe and a 100 cubic meter heating pipe. There's also a hot water tank, 100 cubic meters, 300 cubic meters for the different pumping stations. And then there's a small heat exchanger and a large heat exchanger. Guess what? The small heat exchanger only has a 100 cubic meter water tank. You want to go big. There's barely ever a reason to go small, but there are some, and you want to go underground because the above ground pipes lose too much heat. Got another test about that if you want to know more about it. I don't want to go into too much detail on things that don't matter right now. But that looks good. You can do the same thing with power, and if you're not sure where your power comes from, you can hover over this thing, and you can see, okay, we have 2 connections. That's good. You're sitting at 40%. That's fine. You're sitting at 71%. For a city, you can probably go up to 300% of the estimated maximum consumption, somewhere in that range. I wouldn't recommend going much past 200%, but you're okay if you go higher than that for certain periods of time. So everything that they could need is here. The only thing that they have problems with is access to services, and that is because we don't have workers. So let's get workers so we have access to services. Before I just get workers, this is what I'm going to do. I told you we need about 20% of highly educated workers, and that's what we're going to get in this building. This is a special building, and if you must, you can rename it. This is Uni People. Uni People. And we're just going to click this button, invite 5 immigrants, experts of the Soviet bloc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we have 50 people. And once you unpause, the game updates those numbers, and now you have 56 people that have high education. Wonderful. Is that enough? Well, for right now it says 38%, so it's good. And I wanted to do this so you have access to this building so you can later on maybe specify where they have to go, where they have to work, because it may matter. I do recommend staying away from that though, because once you play with these buttons down here, it's really hard to turn it off again. And the game is good enough at allocating people unless you really are super scraping the barrel with your worker numbers. So just recommend not doing it. Okay, and then let's fill up. Let's go with 600 people. I think that's a safe number to make sure that we have what we need and can do all the other things that need to happen. So let's fill these up until we get to 600. We're just going to do the immigrants, and it's this number up here needs to hit 600. It's not the number of workers. There's a small difference. So let's play the game forward again. We have 369. Okay, that's not bad. Let's put a couple more in here that are closer to the fire station because we want to make sure they're there too. 535. Wonderful. We have 76,000 ruble left in the bank. That feels good. At this point, it's relatively safe to let people run around and get the dump truck that we just invited here to bring some stuff in and make sure that they actually get what they want. The big ones are the shopping center. Make sure that the number of shoppers here and the number is some number within the gray, well, mannequins here, and the number of shoppers in front of the store is 0, because once it's not 0, you know you don't have enough. But this looks fine. You can look at the other buildings as well and make sure that they're not overflowing. And so far, all of that looks good, but they will move around every once in a while. So this is fine. Kindergarten also looks good. This is wonderful. This is perfect to see. This is what you want to see. This is what you need to see because you need workers now. We're maxing out. Well, we're almost maxing out with teachers, and we have a lot of room. A lot of room, and that's wonderful. Let's get some more workers in for free because we don't have money. Okay, let's look at this. All you have to do is look at this symbol that has a dollar next to it and invite those people. What's special about these people? Let's click on it once. We get 10 non-educated adults and no educated, no university educated. This is random. If we do this a couple times, we have 60. We now have 4 educated people and 56 uneducated people. But that's not a problem because if you actually click on them, I'm going to expand them like this. At the almost very bottom, it tells you the current education level. It's very random. There was a 0.9 that was important. When this person goes to the school the first time, which is going right now, it may actually get the extra school education level to count as a fully educated adult and become a worker right away. So all you had to do is spend a little bit of NATO money, a little bit of dollars, and then you get them right back. The problem is they usually come with low health and low happiness, but that is okay as long as they can go through and figure all the things out. They will be a very productive member of society. So how are we doing right now? Well, let's click on a couple buildings. Nobody complains here. There is a problem with the kindergarten, but I don't believe that because it's relatively empty. Let's click on this building down here. Also just kindergarten and workers without a job. That's good. What's this telling me? That everything is working good enough. We're still working on the trash compacting because currently we don't have anything assigned. That's a problem. That's stupid. But we already know that this guy was assigned to everything customs house. So you have 2 ways to do this. You can click this tiny little button, copy source. Now everything is on here like that. Or we can undo that and we click on this button. And then click on the customs house from here, and that's also fine. Or if you want to go special, you can click on the individual items and just make that one show up as the full source, which we don't actually want right now because we want the whole thing to come and go from the customs house. So we're just going to assign everything to it, and now the truck should be able to handle everything that we want. There we go. It's moving, and life should be good. Wonderful. Now, how many workers do we have? Well, we have 439. Is that a good number? It's good enough to work with. It could be better, but that's what we're going to do with our NATO money, because ideally you don't invite any more Soviet citizens because they're very, very expensive and we don't have money. I haven't even shown you the worst thing about this republic yet, so just wait for it. But once you start seeing workers waiting at the bus platform, you know that you're probably at a pretty good place, because that means you should be seeing some workers. Well, you should see unemployment going up. That's what I'm really saying. Right now we only have 83, but only 28 are really with no workplace. Okay, let's compute this really quick, or let's compile this really quick. Earlier we had 112 citizens. Now we have 613, so plus 500. Just now we're getting to a point where only 28 of our citizens don't have work yet. That is it. Only 28. We don't have any more than that. The 55 that don't have education don't count yet. 28. So we just maxed out everything that was built here with 600 people, not with 100 people. Now people have access to service. Okay, Now that that is hammered home, let's look at a couple other things. The first thing is economy and trade loan. We currently owe 900, almost a million ruble. That is $22,000 in 30 days. Is that a lot? Maybe. Let's see. What are we exporting? Currently, we have exported over the whole time frame $28,000, and mostly crops and a little bit of construction waste and mixed waste. So that's bad. And we also just started that in 1962 at the end of the year, and now we've exported a little more. This is enough to cover expenses for 1 month of loans. Not even expenses. That's just 1 month of loans. Absolutely nothing else. So this is not cutting it. But luckily, we do have some crops, which is wonderful. This one, the setup looks fine. I didn't count them. You may be down a little bit. And how many crops are we leaving on the field? I don't know. Let's go find out. Click on this button, click on this button, and it looks like all of these fields are full of crops. Okay, please go check out my best farm setup video because it will explain this a little bit better. But leaving crops on the field simply means you wasted a lot of fuel. This grain storage is not full yet, and we have to fix that ASAP because we need those crops. Field has low fertility, that's fine. Load for sowing, winter is approaching, that's also fine. Looks like you have some liquid fertilizer sitting here, that's nice. But we need those crops. What are you doing? You are doing large field, large farm. Okay, that's fine. You can be allowed. You have large field, large farm. I know that there are a couple that are trying to export stuff from here. Let's see where they are. There we go. Big custom cells. Yes, you're doing grain storage for custom cells. We don't want you to do that. I need you to go here because it's the only place that you matter, so you can collect more crops. Super important. Okay, let's get them in here. Luckily, the trucks go straight to the farm to drop all their stuff off, so that's nice. That means this connection is actually working, doing what it's supposed to do. But we need more connections there. Another thing that I see right away, this is not super important for general knowledge, but give yourself a shortcut because you saw those trucks go all the way around here. You don't want that. You want the shortest possible path, whatever that means. We can maybe gravel this at some point, but not yet. But our current economy consists of really only, and I would really like to send these to the custom source. None of the buildings comes into this depot. This building is not suitable as depot workplace for current vehicle. Okay. I would like to sell you, but I don't want to pay for it. Okay, you're distracting yourself now with things that really don't matter. Okay, fine. I think you have to bring them there with a truck to actually drop them off, but I'm not going to do that right now. Our problem is, we now have a city that's probably working, relatively certainly is working, but we don't have an industry that we can use to make the money back on the loans that we already paid, and we have the loans because of all the stuff that we bought that we didn't actually need, like big buildings. Let's look at what we actually have in our ledger. Okay, import of resources, 900,000. That's not bad. For a realistic start, you get 1.3 million ruble, so that's fine. Could be worse. We have so far spent 216,000 in foreign manpower. It's not good. Replace this as soon as you have a city that's working, which we will do here in a second, but we only have 28 workers right now available, so I can't even send them to the heating plant just yet. That's not enough, so we're going to keep this one around for a little while longer. And then, what? Vehicles imported. $800,000 worth of vehicles? This is too much. This is too much. One construction office is fine until you have money to invest in the next thing. You can actually get started without taking a loan at all. Again, Season X, watch it. I didn't take a loan. I was impressed. I was surprised. First time I've done it, but it totally works. You don't need a loan to work. So don't just spend money on things. Think about what you want. And so far, or the one problem that we have here right now is we don't have an industry. We don't have a place that can make us money at all. So let's work on that. We have a couple of workers now. We're getting some more in every day with the native workers, and we're just going to increase that number as long as there's some room here, which right now, as you can see, there's some room there. So let's get myself a couple more native workers. Wonderful. And we'll just see what happens there. But let's build an industry. What's a good industry? Well, you could just go to economy, could look at the current market prices, and just pick one. Pick any one you want, and then you would come back with, oh, this nuclear fuel thing looks really nice. Nuclear fuel, 118,000 if you sell it, or 131 if you buy it. Yeah, that's nice. What do you need for that? Oh, you need the whole nuclear fuel industry chain, which you have to research. So that's not in. Okay, what else do we have? Honestly, not a lot. Look at your industries down here. We really have food available. We have booze available. We could do meat, and we can do clothes and fabric. We can also do wood with a sawmill. We have some construction materials available, and then gravel, etc., etc. In the beginning, there are really only a couple industries that I would recommend, which are mostly grain-based. You have food. You can sell 20 tons of food, or you can sell 6 tons of alcohol, or you can sell what the clothing and fabric chain does. Now, you can do the math yourself, and the best one out of those is probably clothing in the beginning. Why do I say that? Because at some point it's not just important how much money you can get for a ton of whatever you want to produce and how much money you put into it, so what your profit margin is. That is important, but only to the point where you can actually realize that profit, which in the case of food, we have a very high volume turnover, which means you need 42 tons of crops to make 20 tons of food. 42 tons of crops. What is that? Let's find one of these open hulls. 10 tons of crops. I need more than 4 truckloads to make food, to make 20 tons. So 4 truckloads of crops to make 3.5 truckloads of food. That's a lot. That's a lot of trucks. That's just for one day. Do you know how long it takes to get a truck from, let's say, here to the customs house? That's a couple days. So you need a lot of trucks to move around, which a lot of trucks means you have to also burn a lot of fuel for the same thing, and then you get a little bit of money back. And that's not necessarily worth it. If you had a train to make that run, it's probably fine, but investing in a train at the beginning, we're not going to talk about this at all, investing in a train in the beginning is even more expensive and more prohibitive. So food is not a good one. I would stick to booze or to chemicals. You can honestly pick either one. So 6 tons of alcohol, 1 ton of alcohol is worth what? And you can do these maths every single time you do this. Honestly, it's fun to figure out what the best course of action is, but here you go. For 1 ton of alcohol, we make about 300 ruble. Okay, that's fine. For 1 ton of clothes, we make about, where are you? You're down here somewhere, aren't you? Close. For 1 ton of clothes, we make about 1,500. Okay. The production times are very different, and the recipe for it is very different, because this one requires 30 tons of crops. So you can do the math on that. A ton of crops to import is about $21. Let's do 20. So 126 ruble to import to make, what did it say? 6 times 300, is that right? Yeah, 6 times 300 almost is about 1,800. So 126 to make 1,800 ruble. That's pretty good. I would agree. That is relatively good. Honestly, that kind of works. I made an industry test a little while ago to look at all of this, and that's not a bad return on your imports. So cool. You could do alcohol as just a single building, and it will probably make you some money. The other one is clothing and fabric, and here the advantage is that you can remove one of the imports really fast. But clothing, it's 2.5 tons of fabric, and then here it's 20 tons of crops, which we already said is $21. So 20 times that is $400 into 5 tons of fabric. I feel like I'm doing some math wrong, but this is how you would do this. You can go for all the different ones. Currently, we're pretty strapped for money, so I would not necessarily go with all of them, but there's one other problem that we will have to address here. Booze requires a water quality of 95% to make booze. Food requires a water quality of 97%. At this point, this city does not have a real water supply. We're handling water via the technical service office, and this tower, we don't need it. This pumping station, we don't need it because the tower stores the pressure. We don't have to add more pressure afterwards. We need a pumping station or a pump to get into the tower, not out of the tower. But currently, we're getting all our water from the customs house via the technical service truck, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that means we don't have the purification chain set up yet. Because we don't have that, we don't want to mess with what resources we can consume. which means booze is not a bad place to get started because just a single building, it doesn't require a million workers. Let's look at the worker counts here. We have food would require 170 workers times 3 because it's 3 workers per job. This one, distillery, only requires 100 workers times 3 is 300 workers. That's pretty doable with the city that we have over here if we grow slowly. If we look at the fabric and clothing industry, if we do just clothing, that's 80, so 240 workers. If you then add fabric factory, which you should, because this will like almost double your profits, you need another 300 on top of that, plus the fabric factory will produce 5 tons of fabric, which is enough for 2 clothing factories, so you need another one of this. So you need 500 workers for the clothing factory and 300 workers for the fabric factory, 800 workers that we won't have for a while, and we don't have money, and we already have almost maxed out our loans. So I would say, in this situation, I would just go with alcohol, with booze. That is a good thing to start with. So let's get that set up. First, we have crops here. Wonderful. We just added a couple trucks in there. Honestly, we should add a couple more trucks. You and you. Yes. Why? Because trucks is the only thing that slows you down. What trucks do you actually need? All you really need in the beginning is one covered hold truck. Nothing else. Because you don't have that many things that you need to move for a construction office with covered holds. You need flatbeds, and you need a mechanism, and you need buses, and those things are great. But covered holds, you barely need them in the beginning. So send them to the farm to make sure that most of your crops actually make it to the grain storage, and they will pick it up until it snows, until it's too cold. So that's good. That's the first thing. Second thing is, let's build the industry. Okay. We have this guy already here. If we look at our factory connections, we actually have a chance to connect to this thing, which is super important. And we can do that here or here. Now, the thing with this big grain silo is one thing. It's not that one, I think. No, maybe this one. Nope, that's too big. Where is the right one? It's not that one. It's not that one. Is it this one? Nope, because it doesn't have rail connection. The problem is... No, it must be this one. No, it's too long. I'm confused because this one says, oh, 5,600. I thought it said more last time I looked at it, but that's my problem. So 5,600 tons. The problem with this guy is, and it looks like it's flipped, so you press T, rotate it. This is the layout. The bottom 2 roads are in. They're one-way ins, and the upper one is out. So we can't just delete everything here. We have to delete strategically that this one is not blocked and the trucks can actually leave when they want to go through that. Which at some point, we hopefully don't even need to have trucks go into the silo anymore, but we're not there yet. So we can access this middle piece. We just have to remove a little piece of road. So let's do that here really quick. And the game doesn't tell you this, but you can either click and drag and remove it that way, or left control and then click makes it just removed, and you can just assign whatever demolition office you have. Ideally, you already have one, and let them get to work. Good. They can just run with that. Let's plan the next piece, which is the actual industry. So let's go down here to our food. Alcohol sitting right here. Let's just connect it in a way that makes enough sense. And I honestly, I don't have a horse in a race here, so connecting it like this is probably fine. All I want to do is make sure that it has access to that factory connection that we're currently staring at, and it looks like right there. It should have no problem with that once the road is disconnected. So that's good. Get us another gravel road in here. You can connect right there. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. Honestly, make it a little prettier because this road will be our export road as well. Let's get that one in there and this one. I will talk about the export road in just a minute. But a shortcut here will help us a lot. Let's get that one assigned. Click up here and then start that construction. And our construction offices should go and start getting the things that we care about. Good. It looks like we have a little power station over here, which is lucky. That's already in connection, so that's good. And what else do we need? Honestly, there's only one thing. There's only one thing. And this one looks... Ooh, that's a little dirty. This one gets water through the substations, which is annoying because the water requirement for this guy is not the same as drinking water requirements, but I don't see any water connections, which is kind of annoying because, for example, for a fabric factory, there are water connections down there, and this factory does not need drinking quality water, which this factory, it said it also doesn't need that, but you don't really have a choice. You have to give it water. That's good enough. So we can either build a separate network that's a little annoying, or we just build another building that we need anyways down here for water production. So let's get that one going right now. It's a good thing to build anyways. The small water treatment plant should be able to handle most of your needs anyways. Let's plop that one right here. All I want really is for it to be in range of the bus station that's sitting right there. Road right through here. That looks good. Get you built. And then let's just get you connected. Okay, let's see. I need this one. I need this one. Again, this pump does not make sense because we don't pump water up. Well, when it leaves the tower, it already has pressure stored. That's all we want. We need to just get water pressure or water pressure up into the tower, and that's what we're doing right here. Buildings in the way, really just... Okay. Q makes it go lower. Q, Q, Q. Once it gets low enough, you should be able to make this connection. Really building in the way still. Q, Q, Q. Okay, that building is really annoying right now, but there's our connection. Which means we don't actually want that pipe, and we don't actually want this pipe, because that's our splitters. So let's make sure that we get those removed right now with our deconstruction office, which should just pick these up, hopefully. Maybe that's just going to be a little bit of extra work, but that's fine. Get rid of these two pipes, and then we're just going to make the full connection after all of that is removed. Cool. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Wonderful. And then this pump we can use. I just don't want to rebuild the pump. That's the only reason I'm doing all of this. What pipe did I use here? I don't remember. Okay. Well, if you don't remember, you probably did it wrong. So let's do it again. Here's a pipe. Left control. Yep. Get rid of that. Use the large pipe whenever possible. Anything else will probably hurt you in the long run anyway, so we're going to go down here. That looks fine. Let's see if we can connect. No, not yet. How about now? Yep, that works. So there's a pipe connection, and then we're just going to run another pipe all the way here from input to input. There you go. Now we have this pump actually putting water up in the tower, and then the tower will be connected to that substation, but it also should get a connection to the next substation that we care about. Okay, and this one needs to go out here, and this one will supply water for the booze production that we really, really care about. So that one can go there and get a medium pipe connection to this water switch that we already have set up. Cool. Get that one built. This will relieve the technical service office from a lot of duties. There's one more duty that we really should handle. Press F3 to get rid of this underground mode and use this sewage discharge thingamabob. They're super good because you're paying right now to get rid of your sewage. Why? It's just a little bit of sewage in the water. I know it's not perfect, but just pumping it into the water saves you a lot of money. So let's get this connection going. There's a sewage connection. That's good. And now the sewage pipe is something that people, especially new people, will have problems with laying. So technically you should do that first, but practically I do it when it fits me. So let's see how this works. You need this tool, this terrain tool, tool for measurement. You're just going to hover over this thing and see that we are at water level, which is 0. Over water is 0, and then everything else is a little above 0. But your sewage discharge should be close to that. We currently only have one, let's click this button because we don't need that measurement. We currently only have one sewage collection, which is at currently 15.69 meters. That's great, because all we care about is that we have sewage flowing downhill, and we should be able to do that relatively quickly. I would like this one to actually get constructed ASAP, and then this one can also get a high priority because there's not a lot left. Good. So there's a sewage connection flowing in there. We will need one for our industrial sector over here, so let's see if we can get that one also connected. Where are you? What I'm looking for? I'm looking for this guy. So another sewage tank. Cool. I always recommend putting them right next to where you have water connections, which this player has already done, so nothing wrong with that. They're sitting right here, so that's good. And then all we want is a sewage switch that lets us combine different waste sources to get a bunch of sewage in there quickly. I would try to match the pipes. This is a medium water pipe, use a medium sewage pipe. They don't have the same volume, but think of it... Oh, this... I forgot about this. We have this sewage loading station, which we really don't need because the technical service office doesn't pick up from here, it picks up from here. The game doesn't tell you this. I'm very aware of that. Well, we don't have to worry about interrupting anything, so let's just get rid of this thing. Make it part of the demo construction. At least this is relatively close, but yeah, this thing is probably not assigned to a distribution office. It's not, so it's actually not used. This is never used by anyone because the technical service office will not go there. You can see that by just hovering over it saying, nope, I don't know what that building is. I do know what this building is, which is why it's highlighted in green. All the things that you won't know because the game doesn't tell you. So, that's fine. Let's see, what else do we have left? Really nothing, we just have to connect that thing. Okay, let's get the sewage pipe connected here, which luckily the sewage pipe is super cheap compared to the underground heating pipe, like in this case just a couple thousand, and that's fine. And don't remember, we only have so much money to play with, and that is fine. Speaking of money, once we have all of this done, we are pretty much ready to go. There are a couple small items that I want to go through right now. One of them is we need to get workers here, and I would recommend not blocking your industry with the workers that you may want to get here. So let's get a bus station. I'm just going to get a free one because it doesn't matter outside of get workers here. You can also put one right just across from here. This one is easily removed later on, so we can just place that with a dirt road and just leave it there until it's done. Looks like the road connection here can be severed now. There are a couple trucks that want to go through there because they're still harvesting, which is fine, but I need this to get done. So let's get that one assigned. You can go through there, and at the same time we can have our trucks. I don't think I said trucks earlier. Our trucks going through here, and yes, I'm going to take that shortcut because this is silly to do just the driving, whatever they need here. But the trucks right now can just take this shortcut, which should also be good enough. There's no other road connection that we can get out here, right? No. Okay, so they're handling that. This building is not very expensive to build. It's just going to take a little bit of time to build once it's ready to go, and that is fine. No extra factory connection that we care about. That is okay. We just need some gravel there. Good. I think everything is effectively assigned and ready to go. Now we just have to wait. So, while we're waiting, you can either prettify everything or, look at this, we have a long line of a bunch of stuff happening right now because we're doing a lot of things at the same time, and that's okay. Let's look at this. We have 84 people with lower education. That's fine. I think that means we don't have to add new people unless... Yeah, no, we're already almost maxing out here, so let's set this to 15, which means we have a little more wiggle room, but I want to make sure that we get everyone that wants education the education that they need, so we can just leave them alone. Okay, water's not done yet, though. That's a problem. We have to build this building, too. Again, it doesn't cost a lot, but these all have to get done, and then we need a couple of workers to actually go here from the bus platform, which shouldn't be a problem once we get to that point. But... we also need water to actually come in here, and that's going to be a little more expensive. Okay, let's get a small water well. This one does not require workers. And put it somewhere where we don't expect a lot of pollution to happen. There's pollution happening right here. You see this? This is like a pollution indicator right now. It's yellow. We're down to 81%. It's not red. It's not bad. I think if you hover over here, it will also tell you that there's some pollution in the city, which is mostly related to the not picked up garbage that we were talking about earlier. So keep your your water well, away from those pollution sources. But over here, feels like it may be okay. I'm just going to make a connection. There was a power line here, which I really like because it makes our life a little easier. And then you need a power pump. You need to pump water here. Yes, it's connected to something. This is not for pretty. This is just for completeness. Just put it on this side. It's fine. There you go. There you go. Yep, a normal gravel footpath can go in there. And let's use a large water pipe. Because a small water pipe cannot handle the capacity of what this building can do. A large one can. There's a little bit extra, but you can just use an extra water well if you want, and connect that to this, and then both of them together actually add up to the number that would make sense here. So all of these buildings should get water flowing, and then sewage is also going to be done here relatively soon. What do you have left? Just a little bit. But our deconstruction office, demolition offices can really do whatever they need to do. Good. This road is done. Great. That should speed up the construction of all these things a little bit once we're ready for it, which is not going to be right away. But that is fine. So all we need now is just money. We have 40,000 in the bank. That's fine. You can actually help yourself a little bit with the extra people that we actually invited. This number grows because it's 100% dependent on your population. So that is helpful. But for right now, let's just run this forward until we're out of money and until we see what industries have been built. There are a couple of problems. Okay, so I let the money run down just so you can see building without power supply over here will not produce anything. That is specifically important for the heating plant that we have sitting over here. But the heating plant is also without workers. Why is it without workers? Because this line was too long. There are these buses that are trying to get in here, but they can't get in there because there was too much construction going on at the same time, and vehicles would just pick up stuff. I do see a construction yard here, but I think there was just still too much stuff assigned to the custom cells. I don't want to go through every single thing right now to figure out what was wrong there, but it is a problem. Which is why our happiness has dropped a little bit. We shouldn't have lost a lot of people, if any, and it's something that we should expect to happen every once in a while, but it's not the end of the world, so that should be fine. A bigger problem right now is that we don't have any money, so let's work around this. We're also owing a little bit extra because we're delinquent with our money. First off, let's take the biggest loan that we can, which is a little over 500,000, maybe it gives me 590. Why? Because that should help me pay back the loans that we have. Yeah, I'll show you something first. We had, what was it, 22,000 earlier before I took out the loan, before we were delinquent. If we do this and go all the way through and pay back the loans and consolidate them that way, you will see a smaller number in the end. This is just 226,000 left over. Okay, we're just going to take another one in just a sec. There we go. Now we're at zero money again. That's fine. Because all I'm trying to do is consolidate this. We now have this one effectively paid off. This one we still owe about half on. So let's reduce this to something that makes sense and pay back this one. There we go. And if we let it now run for a couple days, the amount due in 30 days after our extra payment is over should be less than 22,000 that we had before. That is helpful, and we have a little bit of money in the bank. I don't want to overdo this one, so just pay the minimum amount of your interest, but this is helpful because this relieves your debt. Obviously, it's also lower because we went to 5 years instead of less years, so our payments are smaller. Our interest rate is higher, but at least this way you have some chance of paying stuff back over time. We have the workers back in the heat to heat something. These people seem to be happy enough. They will recover their happiness. Not terribly worried about that. And we should also not see a lot of people run away. We got more educated people. That's good. Worker with high education may have left us a little bit. Is that avoidable? Yeah, probably. You can go in and probably make sure that those things don't happen by micromanaging stuff a little more. I didn't want to do that right now. I just want to get as many workers in as possible, and as long as you make sure that your teachers are taking care of your school kids, you should be in a good, pretty good spot. So work here is being done. We have delivered almost everything besides bricks. There's just a little more money going out. So let's make sure before we run out, I'm going to pause the game to take out a small loan. And this is hopefully the last loan that we have to take. This one should pay for our just running of the industry, because we also have a couple buildings over here and there's a little bit of underground construction going on over there. Currently, this guy has workers. That is wonderful, but it doesn't have water and doesn't have chemicals. Chemicals are very important to get this water production going. So how about we set that one up with a building, and ideally not the one that currently handles the delivery to our grocery store or our shopping center, just the demo office. Where is another distribution office that we can play with? There's a cistern, there's an open hall, so they're just filling up those things. There is another open hall, they're just filling up those things. That's not very helpful. There is an open hall here that's not doing something right now. I don't love it, but I'm just going to assign chemicals to the customs house and also tell you to go down here to the water plant and deliver something. 100%, no, 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 no. Never set it to 100%, please. 49%, 39% is totally fine. If you set it to 100%, it will effectively never have trucks waiting, and it's always going to be inefficient. You don't want that. Make sure that you just use the numbers that actually leave your trucks alone. Okay, sewage. Yes, let's get sewage from here. I guess I'm going to do the large one because I can. Some of our infrastructure's in the way. Just tinker around with it until it lets you in and build it. But once this sewage is all done, our water and our sewage truck from our technical service office should be relieved from their duties, and we should be able to just build whatever we feel like building. So, couple more things to build. Almost done. I'll be back when the industry is ready, because then we should be, and happiness is going up, which is what we need. We should be able to use those 50, 60 people, 100 people when we're actually done with this, to start making us some money. And once we make money, we should be able to make enough money to recover from everything that we care about. Before winter is even over, these guys are done. There are a couple more pipes that are currently not ready yet, but we do have sewage and water trucks that are doing stuff for us, which is wonderful, because this building currently says without drinking water, because it looks like this guy is not quite done yet. So there's a little bit more construction to finish up, but I am pretty hopeful that in just a couple minutes before spring, honestly, before February 22nd, when the snow melts, we should be able to see everything come together and start producing. It is February 21st, just before the 22nd, so I was barely right, but water is ready, everything is turned on, so we can finally see that this one only has one problem: no workers. That's all it needs. We have all the water quality and everything else. Mixed waste here. It's already stored in large containers, so we don't even need a separate waste container storage for use, so we can just get started. Let's see. Trubbies, no, I don't want you. I would like a bus. And that bus that I want is probably already parked here, because we don't need this many buses in a construction office. Like 2, 3 total is fine. This is like multiple per construction office here, and that's just, there's too much going on. I would really like to get rid of these, because I don't know what to do with those cop cars otherwise. Now, these guys are going to go somewhere, but that's not what I want from them. I want you actually to go down to the bus station, which should have some workers waiting at this point, at least starting to. And let's have you going. Assign you to this place, and left control and click with the line tool selected will actually send them out right away. It would be nice to have a line spacing tool or line spacing end station enabled here right now, but we really don't need it, because all we care about is that enough of them move around and get to work here. So let's see, can you produce the booze that we want? We're not going to be able to use the booze in the city right now because we don't have a pub, but all we care about is that these workers go straight into the distillery, all of them, and we have, wow, 60 already. So this one's already running at about 50% production, because we're still a little unhappy, but that is fine, because we're now producing stuff with our crops that we didn't have before. Pollution-wise, we're relatively far away, and the building itself doesn't have a super high pollution rate, so that shouldn't really be a problem. All we have to do now is actually make sure that we export this stuff when we're ready. We don't have drinking water. Okay, what's our drinking water problem? You cannot store or export water. That's interesting. I see what our problem is. Can you see what our problem is? Yes, I forgot to actually reconnect this thing, but that is the smallest of our problems, because our construction office has nothing better to do than get this thing done. So once that one is done, we should be, and yeah, we have the water truck actually running around right now, dropping off water left and right, because we were silly. But once we have this connection going, this republic is saved, and it's fine. There was a lot of information here that you don't know or don't get from playing the game, and this video is way too long for what I actually wanted this to be, but it can't be a 20-minute video, because there's so much stuff in here that you just won't get right away, and I want to make sure that the new players actually have a chance to play this game and have fun with it, because it's an amazing game. So I want to make this as accessible as possible, and well, this is part of the process. We need some way to actually bring the alcohol to the border, and let's look over here. We could use a distribution office if we really wanted to, because at some point you probably have to start importing some crops. But in this case, we have 2 parking spots, which is wonderful. We can just use one open hull, so sorry, one covered hull. Where are you? This is too many rollers and asphalt pavers, and there's too many vehicles in here. That's a lot of waste. Let's get this one. You have mechanical components stored. That is not helpful. I would like you to come out. Then you probably are already assigned to the thing that I want you to do. But there's my truck. All you're going to do is go down here, load, wait until you're full, and it's only going to be booze because it may try to pull crops from right here, and bring that to the customs house, wait until unloaded. Done. That's your job. That's all you need to do. And I bet in the first month we will make more money. Bet is a strong word. But I would assume in the first month we will make more money than we have made in the entire existence of the Republic. So a full truckload is about 2,000, which means we need 14 truckloads. So maybe not in the first month, but we should be able to cover our expenses in terms of loan interest and a little bit of the extra stuff. Now, all we have to do is get our productivity up. Now our average production will go up, and with that, life should be pretty good. How's it going over here? You're at 47%. You just need a little bit of steel, but you're almost done. Hold on. There we go. It's producing, and this one is turned on. With 28 people, we get a little bit out. And yeah, our booze is just going straight into the truck and happily filling up. It's almost ready, so it takes, what, about 3-4 days to fill up the first truckload, and from then on out, it should be relatively smooth sailing, because all we need is 8 truckloads to pay our loan, and that's it. Should you expand this? Absolutely, but you need more workers. You need a lot more workers to expand this, and I would say the best place to expand to is actually on this side, because this is a one-way connection, and we don't have another factory connection over here. But get rid of all of this road nonsense, and this one can connect to a fabric connection or fabric factory. It's not going to be super expensive, but it's going to be very simple to just connect here and just run your road probably a little further on the outside, because we really don't need access to this grain silo anymore. Get the factory connection right here, get it connected, and get this one into a small warehouse. That should be more than sufficient for what we're going to do next. Let's set that warehouse up to actually look that way. And then get your clothing factories connected right on the other side of this, and you can do this however you want, however pretty you want to make it. I don't care, but right there, press T to flip these around, get them nice and close to each other. Now you can produce as much fabric as you want. This is just going to be a little more expensive to set up, just in terms of resources to build it, but you will make a lot of money. So that's it. So far, we've exported 1,800 in ruble, which is wonderful, and this guy is almost full again, so the export should start flowing in. Is this Republic worth playing still? Yes, absolutely. Don't stop playing it, because this is just a couple things that you just learned, and you will make the same mistakes. You just have to make new mistakes, and then you learn new things, and that's just how this game works. You just continue with new things that you just found out. It's also a good idea to put a sandbox mode somewhere that you can try out some different setups and some different things that you're just not sure if it's going to work. And probably they won't work half the time, and then they will work the other time. But it's totally worth it just to do it. And again, we currently just don't have enough workers. We only have 14 NATO people. Yes. Let's start inviting a lot more NATO people, because that's what we want. Let's check on all our other buildings. This one looks fine. Okay. We have a lot of students waiting for professors, so I think we can increase this, just double them. We don't want anyone in here. That's good. Police station is taking care of all our things. No problems in our buildings in general. We just had that small heat and electricity problem for a little while, but that looks like that's taken care of. 1 prisoner for 2 wardens. Yep, that's a fun party right there. But that's all we needed. Cool. They're doing what they're supposed to do. We have enough water to produce what we want to produce. Our truck is still here, or here again. And yeah, we should be able to at least float now if we don't continually construct anything, and you don't want to construct. Right now, your goal is to pay off your loan, and the only thing I would build is this once your population grows enough. So we went from 1,000 people to 100 people to over 1,000 people. Our workers with higher education number has gone down quite a bit, but for right now it seems like they're doing okay. But if you do run into issues, and this is where we have all our university educated people, maybe assign them to the places that you care about, which is this one, this one, this one, mostly, and then the rest, once those are full, can go to other buildings. And this is the setting that you want, to set this one to 0. That just means once these all are full, the rest will go to other buildings, but those are the ones we really care about. I currently don't care about these buildings that much, so we're just going to leave them out there until we have more stuff to do. I hope this was helpful. This is always fun to me, so if you have a republic that you think is on the brink of collapse or has other problems that you're not sure how to solve, send them my way, because those are the most fun to deal with if they're your problems. Seriously, just reach out on Discord. Again, this one is a lot longer than what I wanted it to be, but this game just has so much detail, so many different systems that are going on at the same time that it's really hard to figure out what's going on. Like, for example, right now, happiness is going down. Starving. People are starving in the shopping center. We don't have food. Oh my goodness. How do we not have food? Someone is not delivering something. That's a problem. These are all small trucks, but they're not delivering something. Why? It is set to 39%, but we don't have any food. Okay, well, we got to diagnose this because something is wrong. I'm going to guess that yes, you're stuck with stuff that nobody cares about, and that will happen every once in a while. This game just kind of does that, especially if you speed it up a little bit, and it's a problem, but those guys are just going to go out. You're going to get fuel. Why are you going to go? Where are you Oh no. Don't make them go the long way. These guys are the important ones. Make these guys go the short way. Let them get the food that you care about, because when you run out, you want to refill that right away. You don't want to have to wait this long for them to bring something back and people can get what they want. No. Make those go get it from the customs house over there. Not, oh gosh, no. That hurts. That hurts a lot. You need to go here. Okay. Then we need to rearrange your customs house to be all the way on top. Thank you. Then I want you to load from here. Then I want to match what's going on. Yes. Probably just meat. Okay, and then unassign this guy, because that's ridiculous. No. You don't want to do that. I can't believe that I didn't see that before. But here we are. So you have the number of workers here. Another thing that we probably want to do is turn this bus off. It's currently still bringing some workers in here that instead of parking there, probably would be better to have them work in the booze industry. But as you can see, we're already full. We're out of power. That's a problem too. There's always little things that will just bite you in the butt. But it's all going to be worth it in the end. And again, we should be able to recover from this. Ignore that this says 36,000 because it should jump down to something reasonable in just a couple minutes. What did we make last month? We started middle of the month when we made 11,000. That's a good start. You just have to keep expanding on that. And more importantly, don't take out loans that you can't pay back. That's the big one here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I helped someone. Player that has submitted this, I will send you this republic if you want to continue playing this, because I think you're fine. You just have to continue expanding your city and your utilities and your industries, and you should be totally fine. This happiness will recover again. I'm not terribly worried about that. Government loyalty will just level out at some point, but there's not much you can do without radio, so that's okay. Trust me. Thank you so much for watching. Send me your republics for fixing or reviewing or anything else, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.